sports, news, and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, while we're focused on a million other things, Iran still poses the biggest threat to our national security in the minds of many. And we're going to be joined very shortly by Tom Ridge, the first Homeland Security Secretary and former governor of Pennsylvania, who testified at a Senate briefing today as an expert witness talking about the dangers posed by Iran. Now, Iran has come up in recent days because the deadline for the U.S. and the I believe, 6 countries to reach an agreement, the Iran and the other countries to reach an agreement on their nuclear program and how to squelch it, that deadline was not met and, in fact, was extended. And, in fact, sanctions were not added because the deadline was not met. Sanctions were taken away, flying in the face of what the president promised would happen if there was no agreement reached by the deadline back at the State of the Union, and from what the State Department had said subsequently to that announcement by the president at the State of the Union. So we have a situation right now where there's no deal, but Iran has more time and more time and more time. And at the same time, it's not only their nuclear threat. Iran is the biggest supporter of terrorism in the world. And Iran is behind Hezbollah, and Iran is a supporter of Hamas. And where do you think they get the rockets from? Hamas. Where do you think they get their military training from? This is to pretend that Iran isn't involved. So the U.S. reaches out to Iran. Obama wants to shake the hand of their president. That didn't work, so he calls them up. They held talks before they ever told the United States people that they were holding talks, before they ever notified Congress that they were holding talks. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, they come up with an agreement to talk and to meet, and the preliminary agreement, and then the deadline, which was not met. But all the while, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, when it comes to supporting and supplying weapons to Israel's enemies, Iraq has been killing Americans, killing Israelis directly and indirectly, and we reach out to them and we shake their hand and we pretend that, hey, these are good people, the government, the mullahs, the ayatollahs of Iran. Yes, in fact, the president, he's a moderate compared to the last one. A moderate. What does that mean? Nobody could become the president. Nobody could run to become the president of Iran without the Ayatollah's approval. So what kind of moderate do you think is actually going to be allowed to run for the presidency of Iran? This is a huge threat. And John Kerry actually had the nerve to say the other day, among other things, that Israel and the world is safer now because of what this administration has done with Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't think so. But you see, Benjamin Netanyahu, he's a moron. Israel faces the greatest immediate danger posed by a nuclear Iran. And we're seeing the kind of danger they face from a non-nuclear Iran, with the missiles that are flying into Israel every day. But John Kerry will assure us all that Israel is safer today because of the great work that this country has done with the great Islamic Republic of Iran. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why did President Obama want to reach out and shake the hand of the president of Iran when they had their last UN session several months ago, if you recall that? And that didn't work, so we called them on the phone. And then it turned out they had been talking all along, unbeknownst to us. Why? What's the motivation? They have American blood on their hands. They put many of the IEDs that have maimed and killed our soldiers. Not to mention what they've done going back. Our Marine on the tarmac. The hostage crisis. You name it. The biggest supporters of terror in the world, and Barack Obama reaches out to them, sits down with them, and says that they're doing a good job. They're transparent. They're making the right moves. They've cut their production. Do you believe that? Do you believe this from a White House that promised if you like your health care, you could keep it? From a White House that took Libya, kicked out Gaddafi, and now look who's running it? From a White House that supported the overthrow of Mubarak, loved the fact that the Muslim Brotherhood was in there, and when the repressive Muslim Brotherhood who insisted on Sharia law got kicked out, and Sisi took over, We threatened to cut off their funding for the military. Benghazi? Do I have to tell you about Benghazi? Syria? Oh, they're gassing their own people. Cross the red line. Oh, I never said there was a red line. So who's in charge in Syria? What about the caliphate, which you can't deny now exists to a great extent? So now we're supposed to trust this administration that has helped forge all that I have just mentioned when they tell us that that Iran is now, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Forget the fact that they are the biggest supporters of terror. Forget the fact they kill Americans. Forget the fact they're helping to destroy and kill Israelis. We like sitting down with them. We like having lunch with them. We like shaking hands with them because that's what Barack Obama does. And he does it with the wrong people. So while Iran is praised by our State Department and our administration, Israel, as recently as, it's every day, but as recently as yesterday, was admonished by our National Security Director with Wolf Blitzer on CNN, who specifically said that Israel must do more to prevent civilian casualties. And he said it not once, but he said it over and over and over again. What's wrong with this picture? How did we go from a country attacked by terrorists in 2001, a country that recognized the axis of evil, including Iran, to a country that now befriends Iran and throws our biggest ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, under the bus? Not even under the bus. How about overboard? Forget throwing Israel under the bus. How about throwing them overboard? How do you like that one? How do you explain it? What's the reasoning behind it? Jesse Jackson warned anybody who would listen prior to Obama being elected in 2008. Look it up. It's ingrained in my memory. I don't have the exact quote, but he was quoted in a New York Post column as saying, if Obama wins, Israel will no longer be the most influential country in the Middle East when it comes to U.S. foreign policy there. Something to that effect. And he's 100% right, obviously. Obviously. Because you don't hang around and befriend Rashid Khalidi. You don't hang around and befriend Bill Ayers. And you don't hang around and befriend Reverend Wright and become the man in charge and have any love, any affinity, any affection, any empathy for the state of Israel. Now, I know, the Iron Dome. I understand that. But you know what? You help somebody, you give them, hey, we just gave $40 million, or we're in the process of giving $40 million plus to the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip. Not for weapons, not for tunnels, not for rockets, not for the evil Hamas government, for the people. For the people. Really? How's that going to work? You know where Yasser Arafat's ex-wife or widow lives, reportedly? As far as I know, she still does. In the most expensive suite in the most expensive hotel in Paris. Yeah. You know how many billions of bucks Yasser Arafat reportedly had stocked away while his people lived in the same squalor that the Palestinian people live in today? So we're going to give $45 million more now, this time to the Gaza Strip, for the people of Gaza. How on earth are the people of Gaza going to get it? Could you tell me? When Hamas is their government? I mean, we're not that naive as an administration, are we? We're not that dumb and stupid, are we? This is support for Hamas. This money will go to Hamas. How could we not know that? And how could we not know that Iran is the biggest threat posed to the United States' national security in the world? How could we not know that? And my answer is we have to know that. My answer is we do know that. So my question is, what provokes our administration, our president, to constantly reach out to our enemies and to either overthrow or undermine our traditional allies, especially in the Middle East? What is the reason? I ask, you answer. All right, folks. I guess Tom Ridge couldn't make it in. Hopefully, we'll get him another time. We hope to do that here on the Steve Malzberg Show. But take heart, because up next is Gimme 5, and it's coming your way next, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax Television. Don't go away.
Technology.